you very much. So this is joint work with Gravin and Huang. And this is a talk about allocation problems with indivisible items where agents have valuations about these items, and we want to come up with a division of the items in a fair manner. So here is an example of an instance of the problem. We have the agents. We have 3 agents here for items, and each number represents the valuation an agent has for the corresponding item. And more formally, we have an agent. We have a set of goods M. So agents have no negative valuation for each item. So I will use the terms item and good interchangeably in the following. And V sub I of G is the valuation of agent I for good G. The valuations are additive. So the valuation of an agent for a set is simply the sum of the valuations the agent has for the items in the set. And allocation is simply a partition of the goods into n different bundles, and A sub I is the bundle that is allocated to agent I. And okay, so regarding fairness, there are several notions that have been proposed, and one of them is Envy-Freeness. And here's our definition of Envy-Freeness using our notation. So an allocation is envy-free if the value agent I has for his bundle is higher or equal to the value the agent has for the bundle of agent J, and this holds for every pair of agents I and J. And it's easy to see that if we have indivisible items, then envy-free allocations may not exist. Imagine that we have a single item, 2 agents with positive valuations about the item, then the guy who will not get the item will be envious about the other guy. So we need to define approximations of envy-freeness, and here's one such approximation, envy-freeness up to some good. And we say that the allocation A is envy-free up to some good if any possible envy of agent I for some other agent J can be eliminated by removing from the bundle of agent J the most valued item of agent I. So this is a notion that was proposed by Budish in a 2011 paper, but it's also implicit in previous work by Lipton et al. And there are many ways to achieve this EF1, an allocation that is EF1. Many easy notions, and let me mention one that will also allow me to define the Nash welfare objective. So by computing an allocation that maximizes this quantity, so this is the product of valuations of every agent for the bundle the agent gets, raised to the power of 1 over n, then we get an allocation that is EF1 and also has some other nice properties as well. This was proven in EC'19 paper with many co-authors. So this is our example. This is the allocation in which the Nash welfare is maximized, and this allocation is EF1. And to see why it's F1, so the first agent is the guy who has the highest valuation for his bundle, so he's not envious of the other agents. So the second agent is envious because the value the second agent has for the bundle of the first agent is 160. But by removing the car from the bundle of the first agent, so by removing the item which the second agent values for $100, is not envious anymore. So one could observe that this is not a very fair allocation in the sense that the first guy gets the car for which he already has a high value, and it would make more sense to allocate the ring, to give the ring to some of the other 2 agents. So this is what the next approximation of envy-freeness tries to do. So we say that an allocation is envy-free up to any good, or EFX, if any possible envy of an agent I for some other agent can be eliminated by removing an arbitrary item from the bundle of agent J. And this should hold for every pair of agents I and J. This is a property that we defined in our EC'19 paper. And here is an example. So now the first agent gets just the car. The second agent gets the painting and the ring. And now the the first agent is envious for the second agent, but the envy can be eliminated. He's envious because his value is 100 for the car. The value for the bundle of the second agent is 130, and by removing from this bundle the item that the first agent values least, the envy is eliminated. So there's some very nice open questions regarding this EFX property. So the main question is whether allocations that have this property always exist. And we know that the answer is yes, for if we have just two agents or more agents with identical valuations. And the question of whether these allocations always exist is open for general additive valuations and more than three agents or more. So we make progress in this paper on this question. We don't solve it, but we consider the following idea. So essentially, if we remove some of the items from the instance, then we can achieve EFX allocation. So we could remove everything. The resulting allocation will be not only EFX, but also envy-free. We could remove almost everything from all and just allocate a single item to every agent, and this way we could get EFX allocation. So in principle, we could remove some of the items and achieve EFX allocation. And actually removing items would be useful. So these items that are removed could be donated to a charity, so this is not a bad idea to follow. But we'd still like to satisfy the agents. So we'd like to compute an EFX allocation in this way that has high value for the agents. And in order to measure this high value, you use the notion of the Nash welfare. So we'd like to come up with an EFX allocation of high Nash welfare, possibly by donating some of the items. And here are our results. So our first result is existential. So we show that there is an EFX allocation of some of the items to the agents that has a Nash welfare that is at least half of the optimal Nash welfare always exists. And this is tight. We have a counterexample that shows that no matter how we remove items, then any allocation that has more than half of the optimal Nash welfare is not EFX. And then we can apply the same approach to special instances that have the large market property in which no agent has a very high value, a value of more than an epsilon fraction for an item compared to the total valuation for all items. In this case, with this 1/2 becomes 1 minus epsilon. And the first and the third result use an allocation that has maximum Nash welfare. We don't know how to compute such an allocation in polynomial time. Actually, we know that the problem is hard. But we can use approximations, allocations that approximate the max Nash welfare within a constant factor. And we have a modification of our algorithm that achieves an EFX allocation of welfare, the optimal Nash welfare over 2 times rho, where rho is the approximation ratio of the algorithm that we use to compute the allocation on input. And I will not have time to explain the technical details, but let me give some flavor of the ideas that we use. So the main idea is that we start with an allocation that has high welfare or maximum welfare, and then we would like to keep these bundles and allocate them to the agents. Of course, it will not, if it's possible to allocate the bundles to the agents and achieve the effects, then we're done. So this will not be possible. So the idea is to start removing items from the bundles and possibly redistribute the resulting bundles to the agents, and would like to achieve the effects in this way. So after removing items from all bundles, we'll end up with bundles that have just one item each. This will be an EFX allocation. So these approaches will eventually terminate if we're careful enough, and if we're, more careful than that, then we can also guarantee the high Nash welfare. So we use several notions in order to define our first algorithm. So the most important among them is EFX feasibility and the robust demands. And EFX feasibility, so in order to express the EFX feasibility, we build a bipartite graph which tells us whether allocating a bundle Zj, a bundle Z to an agent, let's say I, would result to an EFX, would result to satisfying the EFX constraints for this particular agent. So we say that the bundle Zj is EFX feasible for agent I if she is EFX, so the EFX constraints are satisfied for this particular agent. If she gets bundle Zj, no matter how the remaining bundles are allocated to agents. And then the EFX feasibility graph has edges from node I to bundle J, indicating that this allocation can be done. And in this way, so we build a bipartite graph, and we try to find a matching on this graph that matches agents to bundles. So if this matching is complete, so every agent is bundled, then every agent is matched to a bundle, then we're done. We have computed an EFX allocation. If it's not, there will be some unmatched agent, and we have to do something with this agent. What we have to do is to compute the robust demand, which is this bundle Z that maximizes this quantity, the value of the agent for the bundle if we remove the least valued item for this agent. And the main property that this robust demand has is that by removing this item, then the bundle would be EFX for this agent in the next round. So these definitions helps us, the first one in order to find the EFX allocation, the second one, if we cannot find an EFX allocation, to make progress. And in the next few slides, I have an example. So this is our initial example. We start with a Nash Nash welfare maximizing allocation. And at the right, you can see the EFX graph. So the only allocation that would not violate EFX constraint is allocating the large bundle to some of the three agents. So the second or the third bundle, so the painting or the necklace, cannot be allocated to anybody and maintain EFX. Somebody will get the first bundle, and then this will violate EFX. So essentially, any matching here will match one of the agents to the large bundle, and the other agents will be unmatched. So we compute the robust demands for one of the other two agents. So let's say for the second one, and the robust demand is the largest bundle. And the next step is to remove one of the items from that last bundle, from this large bundle. Let's say we remove the item for which the second item has a lowest valuation. So now we have reduced the instance. Essentially, we have donated the ring, and we have the remaining instance. And now the EFX feasibility graph is much more dense than before, and we have space to compute the EFX allocation, which is this one, and we have just removed an item in this example. So let me summarize these to our main algorithm. I have hidden many details here, but this is the main idea of what our algorithm does. So it starts with an input allocation of, let's say, maximum Nash welfare, and repeats the following steps. In each step, it computes the EFX feasibility graph for the current instance. So it computes a matching on this instance. So the matching has to touch all bundles from which we have removed items, and also to satisfy maximality conditions in order to guarantee that we make progress with this algorithm. And if there are agents that, if some agent is not matched, then we compute her robust demand bundle, remove an item from this bundle, and repeat this process. And this loop terminates when all agents are matched to some bundle. And we return this allocation as the resulting EFX allocation of a subset of the items. So there are several details that I haven't talked about, which allow us to prove that we indeed make progress with this algorithm, and that also give us the two approximations, the Nash social welfare. So this algorithm starts with the maximum Nash welfare allocation, but we can use, we have a modification of this algorithm that uses an allocation of high Nash welfare. And the idea there is the algorithm does the following in that case. So there are several modifications or generalizations of this basic structure, and the algorithm does the following. Either it computes an allocation that is EFX and has at least half of the Nash welfare of the original allocation, or it gives us a way to improve the initial allocation substantially. And repeating this algorithm polynomially many times, we get the two approximation of an EFX allocation that has Nash welfare, that is the two approximation of the initial Nash welfare. So let me summarize with an obvious application of this approach. So we can, once we have computed the EFX allocation for some of the items, we can put the items back, and we can show using known results that this can give us an EF1 allocation with Nash welfare guarantees. But more importantly, we conjecture that this approach could be given to prove the main EFX question. So we suspect that this monotonicity property holds, that adding an item to an instance that admits an EFX allocation yields another instance with the EFX allocation as well that has also at least as high Nash welfare as the initial one. And if this is true, then immediately our result gives not only proves that the EFX allocation always exists, but also that this allocation, that allocations of high Nash welfare exist as well. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
We have this Y09 paper about price of fairness. Let's say, for the benefit of people in the room, it's the ratio between the social welfare of the best fair allocation and the social welfare of the optimal allocation. And in particular, you look at Envy-Freeness and you do very social welfare and get a pretty bad price of fairness of square root of n, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So here, one corollary is the price of fairness for Nash welfare of EFX is only 2.
Yes.
Do you know anything about utilitarian social welfare and EFX in terms of price of fairness?
I think it should be bad. Yeah, it should be at least this far from optimal. I guess that there would be instances where EFX allocations are essentially like EF allocations, and the gap should be large. So that's my guess.
The valuations that the different agents give to items, are those visible to each of the agents? Do the agents know how much they're adding value?
Well, we don't. Actually, the agents may know the valuations of the other agents, or may not.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Actually, we just solve the computational problem. So you may have in mind strategic aspects. So we completely ignore these aspects here.
One more question. Yes. Do you need the value of number to be active, or no algorithm can support them?
For our techniques, the values have to be additive. I mean, we have statements about non-additive valuations, but these are not actually nice or useful. So valuations have to be additive.
Actually, one more. I was wondering, so you now know that EF1 you can get the optimal non-social welfare. For EFX you can get a two approximation. You consider it all, like half of the things, like in Tim's paper he studies half EFX, for instance. Anything, it's not necessarily in between, but other notions.
Yeah. So we thought a bit about it, and it seems that our focus on Nash welfare deviates from this focus on approximate notions of Nash. So these techniques could be used to say something about approximate EFX, but I'm not sure how. I mean, maybe we should get rid of the Nash welfare, and the Nash welfare is a central part in our proofs. So.
Let's thank Ioannis again.